Hello and welcome to Chattin in partnership with MCEP. This is episode 6 of a 6-part series that's coinciding with National Careers Week. To watch past episodes, check them out on this channel, YouTube or Instagram, chattin.jw. For now, this is my conversation with Raffie, where we talk all things performance. Here we go. First of all, a big hello.
Yeah.
Again, thank you for joining me. I really wanted to speak to you, Raffie, because I was really interested in the work that you do. And yeah, generally, for people watching, could you introduce yourself?
Hiya, so my name is Raffies Journey. I'm 29 years old and I'm based in Manchester. I'm a deaf professional performer, artist and choreographer. So my job really is to create and work with other artists in the arts industry, whether it's dance, acting, musical theatre, sign songs, BSL, storytelling, BV. Also, I teach dance with a wide range of like age groups, so it starts from like really young all the way up to like really old age. So anyone can dance really. In this, what I do is I like to incorporate BSL into the choreography, and it's like I like to give them an opportunity to like learn some sign language. So because that way I like to tell a bit of a story behind the movements or the choreography. I am also a freelance CYPS Children Young People's Service for the Manchester Deaf Centre.
You're very busy then. It's really interesting to hear about the work that you do. How did you get into this work? How did you get into this choreography and performance?
Well, it's a bit of a long one, if that's all right. So when I was in primary school in Alma Park, we got given an opportunity, us deaf children, was to do a big performance at the Lowry Theatre. And in that, we also had been given an opportunity to work with a professional ballet dance teacher. So he comes in, he just teaches dance and acting and movement. I was really excited. I was just so young, but it was like a big thing for us. We've never seen it before. It's just like, wow, we're so involved. That we went to another school, we rehearsed with other hearing children. And in that, it was incorporated with sign songs and the performances included in that. There was this one moment that I remember, I was only like 10, 11. This was the very prior to the performance. I was backstage and I was shaking. My heart was pumping. My adrenaline was just through the roof. And one of my deaf teachers was stood there backstage with me and he was like, okay, breathe, take a breath, just enjoy it. Once you're on that stage, just show them what you can do, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, right, okay. So I was the actual person ready to open the show. So you can imagine the pressure at that age. So, and then when I finally just went out on that stage, I just remember this feeling of being on that stage and I just felt this weird feeling of freedom. Like this is the moment where I remember thinking, oh my God, I want to do that again. Like I want that feeling again. So that's when I decided this is it. This is what I want to do. So fast forward to 2017, I got my first musical theatre job, and that was in London. And it was a show called The Who's Tommy, and that was like the rock opera musical theatre show. This is one of the jobs where it helped me realise that access is what I needed, and it's out there, and I didn't even know that. I didn't realise that. Well, what I mean is, I'll explain this a bit more clear. So the first day that I walked in on that job, and there was a room of like 40 people, and they were like the cast of like diverse disabilities. There were like so many BSL interpreters in place. There was also deaf actors, deaf dancers, deaf choreographers, just like me. And I just remember feeling like overwhelmed. It's been so long to get to this point where I thought, the reason I felt so overwhelmed was because I was seeing two languages, the BSL and the English, being communicated like effortlessly, like no barriers, nothing. And that's when I realised I'm home. This is where I need to be. So yeah, I just felt like from then on, I just created like new friendships at network, and it kind of just led me to here now what I do.
What I really love about everything you've just said, and it's something that I can relate to from a performance point of view. I remember being a young person performing on stage for the first time as well, and being really like, really scared, but then having that sense of belonging on stage. And I think that's really powerful. And I think that's something that I love speaking to performers and creatives who really find their place in their art. So that's great to hear from you. And it's also great to hear how that has now fueled your career and the work that you do. That's amazing.
It's crazy. Crazy.
With the work that you do, what does that look like day to day? Like, you know, being a performer, you know, I don't imagine that you're performing every single day. What does that look like for you?
So what I do is I have an agent based in London. So what we do is like we communicate through emails and WhatsApp. I can't do phone calls, so it has to be like visual communication. And then whenever I have an audition, I would have to travel to either London, Derby, wherever the audition is. Or I do self-tapes. I've done quite a lot of self-tapes due to COVID. So I've had to, you can imagine the house being a mess. You have to find a backdrop and get the camera set up and all that. So that's part of my life, everyday life. Also, when I'm not performing on a contract or auditioning, I will sometimes do my freelance dance teaching on multiple different schools. That was before COVID, obviously. So I would drive around to different schools. I would teach them like workshops, some dance lessons, mentoring as well, like giving my advice for like what I've done or telling my story. Then also I do some like R&D projects, which is like research development, where you create your characters, or even from the deaf perspective side of things, I'll come in and kind of like discuss what's the best for access and things like that. Yeah, and then it's either in face-to-face or Zoom. So yeah.
When you're running a workshop, I imagine there's difficulties there or challenges, but then there's a reward that comes from it. I guess with self-tapes, it's a never-ending story of filming, but then you get a chance to actually get that role. But I think another question I had, talking about the work that you do, what has been, if I asked you now, a memorable project of yours, could be anything in your career, what pops to your mind straight away?
Well, I was stuck on two things. One was obviously Tommy, the Who's Tommy that I told you about. But since I've already mentioned that, when I mentioned this, come on. So my most memorable project would be the Lost, Taken, Murdered video YouTube I did in 2020 lockdown. That was a poem based on George Floyd, and it was written by Vivian Sabel. And what happened was at that time, it was quite raw, a lot of emotions, opinions of other people, and it was a big impact on a lot of people. Vivian is like, she's a doctor, she does like mental health patients and things like that. But she's also an artist and she writes a lot of poems and things like that. So we met through one of my jobs where I was performing and she was in the audience, and we just kind of connected there. Anyway, from then, so she reached out and said, I'm really feeling a lot, like, what can we do? She just feels a lot of emotion, and she's got mixed race daughter, mixed race family, so she feels like she relates to this. Anyway, so I said, I feel the same, like, yeah, what can we do? She said, well, I've wrote a poem here, and I thought of you because I've seen you in your performance, you're very visual, you're expressive. Can we come together and collaborate and make this performance? I said, yeah, of course. And that's when we got together, and we just felt that we needed you know, send a message out of how we feel about this. And yeah, it just felt powerful to do that we needed to say what we needed to say.
Yeah. And what was the response like to that piece?
Oh, honestly, the response from that was huge. Like, everyone was like, bam, 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 comments. Everyone was saying, oh my God, Raffie, I bawled my eyes out. Oh my God, this is amazing. Even like, because I wasn't speaking, I was signing, and there was captions. So they were just taking in all my VV movements in the sign, and yeah, it was overwhelming with the response, and I just felt proud of myself for that, even as well as Viv for reaching out and making it happen.
I think that it is for any creative career, or just to be a creative person, collaboration is really important. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely, because when you put two heads together, it becomes like a big, massive, like, story or information or message to get out there. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you spoke about the first time you performed and how it hooked you. You spoke about how you now work with groups of young people as well, doing sessions. My next question, to sort of wrap up our conversation as well, is if you were in a room of young people now and you were sort of talking about your career, what bit of advice would you give them at this point?
Ooh. So what I would say is, don't let your disability stop you from dreaming what you want to do in life. Just be strong, confident, and be proud of who you are. Also, follow your own path, and also be open-minded and meet as much people as you can and learn and grow.
That's a great message for any young people watching this video as well. Hopefully it reaches as many people as we can as part of this series. But thanks so much, Raffie. It's been great speaking with you, and I really hope that I get to meet you in person at some point as well.
Oh yeah, definitely one day, definitely.
All right, well, that brings us to the end. Thanks so much, and I'll hopefully speak to you soon.
Thank you for speaking to me. Thank you.